For the subject of the body is the shadow and the psychosomatic effects of trauma, one might want to look to Carl Jung and Wilhelm Reich for a more fully fleshed understanding. Armoring of the body and mind, posture, how a human being carries the self, especially as a response to trauma across the spectrum from the trivial to the ancestral. This is a caricature of what is meant by the term armoring, that, for all its obsessive layering, the points of vulnerability couldn't be any more obvious to the armchair quarterback. Neurological holding patterns have rendered the being into a living dead sarcophagus, stubbornly attached to their extremely inhibited disposition or means of interacting with the world. The limitations that people often fight for without knowing what they're doing, a process that is enabled and facilitated by the social contagions of the honeycombed echo chambers of an ideologically schizophrenic, unconscious, collectivist cultural shit show. Chained to an hourglass at the mercy of their virtual relationship with time, quickening as the sand pours in, this armor has not been unaffected by the crossfire projections of the world. The weapons used to mark and skewer the being have become one with the sarcophagus. The core of the being has atrophied, leaving plenty of hollow space to be filled with whatever pours in and proceeds to rust the armor from within, thus infecting the being. Conditioning oneself in a way that isn't really functional or sustainable, but if anything more inhibiting to their own mobility, depending on the quality of the physical or psychic mass of insulation and protection. This armor can extend beyond the body through persona and the words we speak. Sight is limited to the tunnel vision afforded through the mask, unable to see the surroundings or armor itself for what it is. The shadow sun radiates behind the head like a halo, congruent with the darkness within. And maybe there is the means to dissemble or transform the armor, to move beyond the confines in order to begin to look at individuality beyond this idea of it being a perpetual reaction to the world, in order to be willing to explore what it is to be alive, to see the world anew, moving beyond self-conscious to self-aware. It's not as if there isn't any need for a psychic self-defense as such, acknowledging all the half-baked sociopathic shit that spreads around, but one might prefer mobility over self-confinement, if the desire is to express oneself as a living, breathing, creative individual in this world in some way, shape, or form, then to honor and work with what nature has gifted you with, as the original concept of magic, may be sufficient in itself for walking through and creating within an as elucid dream.